أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. تفسير السعدي عبد الرحمن بن ناصر السعدي رحمه الله، سورة As Saffat. نعم, we read from the verse 40. إلا عباد الله المخلصين أولئك لهم رزق معلوم فواكه وهم مكرمون في جنات النعيم على سرر متقابلين يطاف عليهم بكاس من مهين بيداء لدى الشاربين لا فيها غول ولا هم عنها ينزفون وعندهم كثرة في الهين كأنهم بيض مكنون. However, for the chosen and sincere slaves of Allah, there will be provisions that are known for their beauty and delicious taste, fruit of various kinds, and they will be honored in gardens of delight, seated on the couches facing one another. A cup will be passed around among them with the wine from a flowing spring, white and delicious as to those who drink it. It will not cause any harm, nor will they be intoxicated by it. And with them will be a chaste woman with big beautiful eyes who restrain their glances, as if they are eggs carefully guided. However, the chosen and sincere slaves of Allah, they will not taste the pain of punishment, because they were sincere to Allah in their deeds. Therefore, He chose them and singled out for His mercy and showered them with His grace. There will be provisions that are known, that is, they are not unknown, rather it is an immense provision, the type and quality of which is unknown, and no one could know its nature. Then Allah explains that by saying fruits of various kinds, that is all types of fruit that one will enjoy because of its delicious color and taste, and they will be honored, that is, they will not be despised or looked down upon, rather they will be respected, appreciated, and dignified. They will honor another, and the angels will honor them, entering upon them from every gate and congratulating them for having attained this great honor, and they will be honored by the most gracious of those who show generosity. Who will bestow upon them all kinds of blessings that will bring joy to their hearts and souls, in guidance of delight, that is, in guidance that are filled with joy and happiness because of what they contain of all sorts of bliss, such as no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no has it across the mind of mine, and they are free of all that could spoil their delights of any kinds of stresses and troubles. One of the ways in which they will be honored by their Lord and will honor one another is that they will be seated on couches which are rest seats adorned with all kinds of fine and beautiful clothes. They will be reclining on these couches in a way that reflects comfort, serenity, and joy, facing one another, and their hearts will be free of rancor. Their life will not be tainted with any element of hate, and they will be delighted to be together, facing one another in a manner that is indicative of the harmony between their hearts. They will show proper etiquette to one another, not turning their backs on one another. Rather, the fact that they are described as facing one another is indicative of their perfect joy and perfect etiquette towards one another. A cup will be passed around among them with a wine from a flowing spring. That is, boys who are ready to serve them will go around with delicious drinks in beautiful cups filled with nectar scented with musk. This will be cups of wine, but that wine will be different from the wine of this world in all aspects. In color, it is white, which is one of the best of colors, and in taste, it will be delicious to those who drink it. The one who drinks it will enjoy it while it's drinking it, and afterwards it will be free of anything that may harm the mind or cause the drinker to lose his mind. He will not become exhausted by it, and it will not lead to any headache or hangover. Having told us of the food, drink, and gatherings of the people of paradise and the delight in general, in terms and in detail, that are included in the phrase "gardens of light," so that the people may know what is there, and as they long for it, Allah now speaks of their spouse, saying, "And with them will be just two men with big beautiful eyes who restrain their glances, that is, with the people of paradise with big beautiful eyes, reaching the pinnacle of beauty and restraining their glances." What is meant is either that this beautiful and chaste woman restrains her glance and looks only at her husband. Because of her chastity, she does not look beyond him to anyone else, and because of the perfection and beauty of her husband, which is such that she does not want anyone else in paradise but him, or it may be the phrase rested as restrain their glances means that they are so beautiful that the husband looks only at his spouse and restrains his glance, which indicates that his thoughts and love are only for her. Both meanings are possible and both are sound. All of this is indicative of the beauty of both the men and women in paradise and their life for one another, which is such that no one will look at anyone else, and they will all be extremely chaste. There will be no envy or resentment or grudges because of the absence of the causes of thereof. With big, beautiful eyes, this refers to the beauty of the eyes and its lovely shape. As if they, namely the whole eye, are eggs carefully guarded, that is covered, that is because of their beauty and purity, and indicate that their colors are the most beautiful of colors, and the most delightful to behold, with no blemishes or dark patches. فأقبل بعضهم على بعض يتساءلون قال قائل منهم إني كان لي قرين قال إنك لمن المصدقين أئذا متنا وكنا ترابا وإذا ما إنا لمبعوثون قال هل أنتم مطلعون فراه في سواء الجحيم قال ترين كده لتردين ولو نعمة ربي لكنت من المهدرين فما نحن بميتين إلا المثل الأولى وما نحن بمؤدبين إن هذا لهو الفوز العظيم من مثل هذا فليعمل العاملون. They will turn to one another with the questions. One of them will say, I had a friend on earth who used to say, are you one of those who believe that when we have died and become dust and bones, we will be brought to account? He will say, shall we look for him in the fire? So he will look down and see him in the middle of the blazing fire. He will say, by Allah, you almost brought about by my ruin. Were it not for the grace of my Lord, I too would have been there in hell. Is it then that we are not going to die except for our first death, and that will not be punished? Actually, this is the supreme truth. For the like of this, let all strive who wish to strive. Having described their bliss and perfect happiness with food and drink, beautiful spouses and splendid places to sit, Allah now describes how they will converse with one another and speak of matters of the past, and they will continue talking and asking one another questions until the conversation leads to one of them saying, I had a friend in the former world who denied the resurrection and criticized me for believing in it. And he used to say to me, are you one of those who believe that when we have died and become dust and bones, will be brought to account that is requited for our deeds? In other words, this disbelieving friend asked, how can you believe such a far-fetched notion, which is very strange, that when we have disintegrated and become dust and bones, we will be resurrected and brought back to life, then we will be brought to account and requited for our deeds. The one who is in paradise will say to his brethren, this is my story and this is what happened between me and my friend. I was and remained a true believer, while he did not believe in the resurrection and persisted in denying it until we died. Then we resurrected and attained what you see of bliss, which the messengers told us about, and he has absolutely ended up in pain and suffering. Shall we look for him in the fire and see what happened to him? For it will increase our joy and happiness with what we are enjoying. What we see that with our own eyes, what appears to be the case with regard to that what the people of paradise have of joy in being together and harmony with another is that they will respond to what he says and will go with him to look at his friend. So he will look down and will see his friend in the middle of the blazing fire that is in the midst of torment, overwhelmed and surrounded by punishment. He will say, blaming him for his predicament and expressing gratitude to Allah for his blessing in saving him from his friends' attempt to mislead him. By Allah, you almost brought about my reign, that is, you almost destroyed me because of what you tried to confuse me with, of your specious arguments. Were it not for the grace of my Lord and his making me servant in Islam, I too would have been there in hell suffering the punishment with you. Is it then that we are not going to die, that of our first death, and that we will not be punished? That is, the believer will say this overjoyed with the blessing that Allah will bestow upon the people of paradise, of remaining there forever and being safe from punishment. It is a question in the sense of an affirmation. In other words, he will say to his friend who is now being punished, do you still claim that we will not die, except our first death, and that there will be no resurrection or punishment after that? In the phrase, they will turn to one another with questions. The object of the question is not mentioned, but the context is one of joy and happiness, which indicate that they will ask one another about whatever matters will bring them joy, and they will discuss issues concerning which there were dispute and confusion. It is well known that people of knowledge find joy in raising questions about issues and researching matters, and that joy is greater than the pleasure that other people find discussing worldly matters. So they will have an abundant share of this kind of joy, and they will attain discovery of some fact in paradise that cannot be expressed. Having mentioned the bliss of paradise and described it in these beautiful terms, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises it and makes those who are striving long for it and encourages them to strive even harder. Surely this is the supreme truth by virtue of which they attain all that is good, all that their hearts desire, and everything that concerns them or harms them is swallowed off thereby. Could there be any greater truth to be sought, or in this the ultimate, as they have attained the pleasure of the Lord of the earth and the heavens, and have found the joy of being near to him and knowing him, seeing him and listening to his words? For the like of this, let all strive who wish to strive, for it is the most deserving of spending that which is most precious, and it is the first thing for which smart and knowledgeable people should strive, and it is the source of the greatest regret if the diligent person lets any time pass without doing righteous deeds that will bring him closer to paradise. So how about if he does not, if he does deeds to bring him closer to the fire? أذلك خير أم نزلا أم شجرة زقوم إن جعلناها فتنة للظالمين إن شجرة تخرج في أصل الجحيم طلعها كأنه رؤوس شياطين فإنهم لاكلون منها فمالئون منها البطون ثم إنهم لشرب منها ميم ثم إن مرجيهم لإلى الجحيم إنهم إن ألقوا أباهم دانين فهم على آثارهم يوراءون لقد ضل قبلهم أكثر الأولين ولقد أرسلنا فيهم منذرين فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المنذرين لا عباد الله مخلصين. Is that the better dwelling place or the tree of Zakum? Where we have made it atonement for the wrongdoers. It is a tree that grows from the depths of hell. Its fruits are like the heads of devils. They will surely eat of thereof, filling their bellies. So then on top of that they will be given a mixture of filthy scalding water to drink. Then to hell will they return, for they found their fathers going astray, and they hastened to follow in their footsteps. Indeed, before them many of the other peoples went astray, even though we sent messages to them to warn them. So see what was the fate of those who had been forewarned, but they did not pay heed, except the chosen and sincere slaves of Allah. Is that the better dwelling place that is that release of the people of paradise that we have described better, or the punishment in hell that will involve all kinds of torment? And which of the two foods is the better, that which we have described in paradise, or the food of the people of hell? It is the tree of Zakum. Verily we have made it a torment, that is a punishment for them, for the wrongdoers who wrong themselves by disbelieving and committing sins. It is a tree that grows from the depths of hell, that is from the mid of hell. That is where it emerges, and the substance of which it is made is the worst of substances. The vileness of the place where it grows is indicative of how vile and foul this plant is. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws our attention to its vile nature by mentioning where it grows, and by the way in which and the way in which he describes its fruit. For they are like the heads of devils. After that, do not ask about its taste, or what is or not will do there to their insides and their bellies. They will have no other food, and they will have no choice but to eat it. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will surely eat their filling their bellies. This is the food of the people of hell, and how food their food will be. Then Allah mentions their drink. Then on top of that, that is after that food, they will be given a mixture of filthy scalding water to drink. That is water that water that is extremely hot. It's like the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if they cry for help, they will be given water like boiling dregs of oil that will scald their faces, water dreadful drink, and water miserable resting place, and be given scalding water to drink that will tear their intestines. Then to hell will they return. The abode to which they will return will be hell, so that they may taste its severe punishment and extreme heat. There is nothing more wretched than that. It is as if it was asked what brought them to this abode. So Allah says, for they found their fathers went astray, and they hastened to follow in their footsteps. That is, they hastened to follow them in misguidance, and they did not pay any attention to that to which the messengers called them, or of that of which the books warned them, or the words of those who have offered sincere advice. Rather they opposed them by saying, we found our forefathers following a certain path, and we are following in their footsteps. Indeed, before them many of the other peoples went astray, before those who are addressed here, and few of them believed and were guided, even though we sent messages to them to warn them against their misguidance. So see what was the fate of those who had been forewarned. Their fate was doom, disgrace, and shame. So let these people be of persistence in their misguidance, lest they meet the same fate. Because those who were warned did not all go astray. Rather, some of them believed and were sincere to Allah. Allah said they were exempted from doom, as He says, except the chosen and sincere servants of Allah, that is, those whom Allah chose and singled out for His mercy because of their sincerity. Their end was good. Then Allah mentions examples of the fate of disbelieving nations. وَقَدْ نَادَانَا نُوحٌ فَنِعْمَ الْمُجِيبُونَ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ وَأَثَرْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى نُوحٍ وَفِي الْعَالَمِينَ إِنَّهُ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ ثُمَّ أَغْرَقْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. Did no called upon us, and how excellent was our response. We saved him and his family from great distress, and we made his offspring the only survivors. We left for him a favorable mention among subsequent generations. Peace be upon Noah among all nations, Nuh among all nations. Thus do we reward those who do good. Verily, he was one of our believing slaves. Then we drawn the others. Here Allah tells us about his slave and messengers Nuh alayhi the first of the messengers, when he called his people to Allah for that lengthy period of and his call only increased them in affection. He called upon his Lord and said, my Lord, do not leave on earth a single living soul from among the disbelievers. And, oh my Lord, help me against those who spread mischief. Allah answered his prayer and praised him, saying, and how excellent was our response. Allah responded in a way that was exactly what Nuh asked for. He saved him and his family from great distress, drowned all the disbelievers, and left his offspring to produce future generations. So all people are descended from Nuh alayhi, and Allah granted him a favorable pension that will endure until the time of later generations, because he did well in worshipping the Creator and showed kindness to his creation. This is Allah's way with those who do good. He caused them to be mentioned favorably, commensurate with their good deeds. The words, verily he was one of our living slaves, indicate that faith is a high status anyone can attain, and that includes all teachings of religion, both fundamental and minor issues, because Allah praised the elite of his creation for having faith. You know. أيوة اللهم استعان الله. وإن من شيعته لإبراهيم إذ جاء ربه بقلب سليم إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ماذا تعبدون أئفكا دون الله تريدون فما ظنكم برب العالمين فنظر نظرة في النجوم فقال إني سقيم فترانه مدبرين فرغ إلى آليتهم فقال ألا تأكلون ما لكم لا تنطقون فرغ عليهم ضربا باليمين فأقبلوا إليه يزيفون قال تعبدون ما تنهتون والله لكم ما تعملون وقالوا ابنوا له بنيانا فقالوا في الجحيم فأراد به كذا فجعلناه الأسفلين وقال إني داهب ربي سيهدين ربي هب لي من الصالحين فبشرناه بغلام حليم فأما بلغ ما يسعي قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى قال يا أبت فعل فلتؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين فلما ستله الجبين وناديناه يا إبراهيم وزغ رؤيا إنك تجزي المحسنين إن هذا هو البلاء المبين وقديناه بذبح عظيم وتراني في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين وبشرناه بإسحاق نبيا من الصالحين. But among those who followed his way was Ibrahim, for he came to his Lord with a pure heart. He said to his father and his people, what are these that you worship? It is falsehood. Is it falsehood? Gods other than Allah that you seek. What then do you think of the Lord of the worlds? Then he cast a glance at the stars and said, indeed I am sick. So his people turned away from him and left. Then he turned upon their gods and said, will you not eat? What is the matter with you that you do not speak? Then he turned upon them, striking them with his right hand, and his people came rushing towards him. He said, do you worship that which you yourself serve, when it is Allah who has created you and everything you make? They said, build a pyre for him and throw him into the blazing fire. They planned to have him, but we brought them low. He said, I'm going to a land where I may freely worship my Lord. He will guide me. My Lord grant me a righteous son. So we gave the glad tidings of a forbearing son. Then when the son reached the age where he could help him in his endeavors, Ibrahim said, O my son, I see in my dream that I must sacrifice you. What do you think? The son said, O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if Allah so wills, among the steadfast. So when they had both submitted to the command of Allah, and Ibrahim had laid his son's face down on the ground, that is, we called out to him, O Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the dream, thus do we reward those who do good. For this was clearly the most difficult of tests, and we ransomed him with that randomized sacrifice. We left for him a favorable mention among subsequent generations, peace be upon Ibrahim. Thus do we reward those who do good. Verily he was one of our believing slaves. We gave him the glad tidings of Isaac, a prophet, one of the righteous. That is, among the party of Nuh alayhi and those who followed his path of prophethood and conveying the message, calling people to Allah and answering that call, was Ibrahim al-Khalil alayhi, for he came to his Lord with a pure heart that was free of doubt and desire that prevent the one from understanding the truth and acting upon it. If a person's heart is pure, he will be safe from all evil and will attain all good. As a result of being pure, Ibrahim was free of ill feelings and envy towards people and other bad attitudes. Hence, he sincerely advised others about Allah, starting with his father and his own people. He said to his father and his people, what are these that you worship? This was a question by way of denunciation and establishing a binding proof. Is it false with gods other than Allah that you seek? That is, do you worship besides him false gods that are not gods at all and are not fit to be worshipped? What do you think the Lord of the worlds will do to you when you worship others beside him? This was warning them of the requital of persisting in their ascription of partners to Allah. Aina. It was if he was saying, what do you think the Lord of the world has of shortcomings so that you ascribe their rivals and partners to him? Ibrahim Salam wanted to break the idols and find a way to do so. He took the opportunity of their hiddenness when they went to celebrate one of their festivals. He went out with them, then he cast a glance at the stars and said, indeed, I'm sick. According to the Sahih Hadith, Ibrahim only lied on 3 occasions when he said, indeed, I am sick, when he said. When he said, nay, it was this one, because of them who did it. And when he said of his wife, she is my sister. Second hadith recorded by Tirmidhi. The aim of his staying behind and not going out with them was so that he could carry out his plan concerning their gods. So his people turned away from him and left. When he found the opportunity, then he turned upon their gods. That is, he rushed to them stealthily and said to them, by way of recruiting them, will you not eat? What is the matter with you that you do not speak? That is, how can it be appropriate for them to be worshipped when they are more helpless than animals, which eat and make sounds? For these are inanimate things that do not eat or speak. Then he turned upon them, striking them with his right hand. That is, he began to strike them with his force until he broke them to pieces, except the largest one of them, so that the people will come back to it. And his people come rushing, that is, running towards him, wanting to attack him after having investigated the matter. They said, who has done this to our gods? He must surely be one of the wrongdoers. It was said to them, we had a young man speaking ill of them. He is called Ibrahim. He said, and by Allah, I have a plan for you idols after you leave. So they rebuked him and cursed him, but he said, nay, it was this one, the biggest of them, who did it. So ask them if they can speak. So they started drinking and said to one another, surely it is you who are doing wrong. But then they replaced it to the former obstinacy and said, you know full well that these idols cannot speak. Ibrahim said, do you then worship besides Allah that which cannot benefit or harm you in any way? Fee on you and all that you worship besides Allah. Have you then no sense? He said, here, do you worship that which you yourselves crave? That is, you make it with your own hands and manufacture it yourself. How can you worship them when it is you who make them and fail to show devotion to Allah alone? When it is he who has created you and everything you make. They said, build a fire that is a tall structure and light a fire in it, and throw him into the blazing fire as a punishment for what he had done of breaking their gods. They planned to harm him, that is, to kill him in the worst manner, but we brought them low. Allah caused their plan to backfire on them, and he made the fire cool and safe for Ibrahim, because they did this to him, and he established proof against them and left them no excuse. He said, I'm going to a land where I may freely worship my Lord. That is, I'm migrating for his sake, heading towards the blessed land, the land of Asham, Syria. He will guide me, that is, he will show me what is best for me in both my spiritual world affairs. Elsewhere, Allah tells us that Ibrahim said, I will keep away from and disavow you and those on whom you call beside Allah, and I will call upon my Lord. Perhaps my supplication to my Lord will not remain unanswered. My Lord grant me a righteous son. That was when he despaired of his people and did not see anything good in them. He asked Allah to grant him a righteous son by means of whom Allah will benefit him during his lifetime and after his death. Allah answered his prayer as he says, so we gave the glad tidings of a forbearing son. This was undoubtedly Ismail alayhi salam, because when Allah mentioned the glad tidings of Isaac, he mentioned his son Yaqub after him. Then we gave her the glad tidings of Isaac, and after Isaac of Yaqub. This indicates that Isaac was not the one who was to be sacrificed. Allah described Ismail as forbearing, which implies that he was patient, had a good attitude, was a big-hearted, and was forgiving towards anyone who caused offense. Then when the son reached the age where he could help him in his endeavors, that is, he reached an age where he was the dearest he could be to his father, for there was no longer any trouble in looking after him, and he could now be of benefit to him. Ibrahim salam said to him, I see in my dream that I must sacrifice you. That is, I have seen in my dream that Allah is commanding me to sacrifice you. The dreams of the Prophet are revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do you think for the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be fulfilled? Ismail said, showing patience, seeking reward with Allah, and showing evidence to his father. O my father, do as you are commanded, that is, go ahead and do what Allah has commanded you to do. You will find me, if Allah so wills, among the steadfast. Ismail told his father that he had resolved to be patient, And he mentioned the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alongside that, because nothing happens except by Allah's will. So when they had both submitted to the command of Allah, that is Ibrahim and his son Ismail, when Ibrahim resolved to kill his son, the apple of his eye, in obedience to the command of his Lord and for fear of his punishment, and Ismail resolved to be patient and regarded this ordeal as nothing, so as to obey his Lord and please his father. And Ibrahim had laid his son face down on the ground, so that he could slaughter him. He made him lie with his face towards the ground, so that he will not have to look at his face at the moment of slaughter. We called out to him at that tense moment when he was about to do that astounding deed. O Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the dream. That is, you have done what you were instructed to do, and you resolved to do it, and took all these measures that were required. And now there is nothing left but to pass the knife over his throat. Thus do we reward those who do good in worshipping us, giving precedence to seeking our pleasure over their own whims and desires. For this which we tested Ibrahim alayhi salam, and was clearly the most difficult of tests, that is through which the purity of Ibrahim alayhi salam is love for his Lord, and the fact that he was indeed the close friend of Allah, were made manifest and became clear when Allah bestowed Ismail upon Ibrahim alayhi salam. He loved him dearly, but he was also the close friend of the most gracious Khalil ar-Rahman, and close friendship is the highest level of love. It is a level of love in which there is no room to love anything else, a level which indicates that one to be attached to one's blood with all of one's heart. As part of Ibrahim's heart became attached to his son Ismail, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to make his entire heart attached to him, and to test how sincere and strong the bond of close friendship was. So he commanded him to slaughter the one whose love had competed with the love of his Lord. But when Ibrahim gave precedence to love of Allah over his own desires, a resolve to slaughter his son, all attachment to competitors was removed from his heart, whereupon there was no longer any benefit in for this was clearly the most difficult of tests, and we ransomed him with a tremendous sacrifice. That is, he was replaced with the great ram which Ibrahim slaughtered. It was great in terms of it being the ransom of Ismail, and in terms of being one of the sublime acts of worship, and in terms of being a means of drawing closer to Allah, and a present to be followed until the day of judgment. And we left him a favorable mention among subsequent generations, peace be upon Ibrahim. That is, we left for him a favorable mention among the later generations, as was the case among other generations in every subsequent era. Ibrahim alayhi salam also, and is inherently loved, venerated, and praised. Peace be upon Ibrahim. This is a salutation to him, as in the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so say praise be to Allah and peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen. Aina'am. Thus do we reward those who do good in worshipping Allah and in dealing with people. We grant a way out from hardship, and grant them a good end and an honorable mention. Verily he was son of verily he was one of our believing slaves who believed in what Allah enjoined them to believe in, and whose faith reached the level of certainty, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says elsewhere. Thus we gave Ibrahim an insight into Allah's mighty dominion over the heavens and earth, so that he might be one of those who have certain faith. We gave the great tidings of Isaac, a prophet, one of the righteous. This was the second great tidings of Isaac, after whom came Jacob. Allah gave him the great tidings that he would be born and will suffer. And that he will be a prophet, one of the righteous. This was a multiple glad tidings.